We are reconstructing a monster. It may be the greatest predator North America has ever seen. Its name is Acrocanthosaurus.
If Acrocanthosaurus were to magically come back to life, it would be a truly awesome animal. It was a giant killer. It could go after prey items that were 30 tons or more. This would have been the Arnold Schwarzenegger of the dinosaurs.
Now a monster is brought back to life, and a killing machine is put to the test. Monsters Resurrected, Dinosaur King. The Paluxy River, 1 hour's drive southwest of Dallas, Texas. Embedded under this gentle stream is the tale of a desperate struggle that took place 110 million years ago. These fossilized footprints are the Cretaceous equivalent of a crime scene. Hidden in this stone is the first-hand story of a savage past when megabeasts ruled the earth.
These footprints are direct evidence of an ancient combat between Acrocanthosaurus and its victim. It's the next best thing we could ever have to having a camera in the Cretaceous.
By unlocking this mystery, we can resurrect the past and bring a killer back to life. 110 million years ago, this was the coastline of an ancient sea, and much of what is now Texas was underwater.
The Gulf of Mexico basically came right up to here, and this was the coast.
And the mud of this ancient coastal flat preserved the details of what appears to be a hunt.
Right here we've got a real nicely preserved three-toed dinosaur foot. This cast was made from this footprint. You can see that the heel is not as well preserved because of the angle, but the toes are beautifully preserved.
These footprints were left by a vicious carnivore, Acrocanthosaurus. Acrocanthosaurus was over 12 meters long and weighed more than 4.5 tons. Even today, it would be a terrifying monster.
Imagine the panic if people saw a lion or a tiger walking free. Now blow that up 10 times or more in a creature unlike anything you've seen alive today.
As this footprint is examined, certain details emerge. The steep angle of the toe casts from the river show that the acro was running. But there is another set of footprints, and these second footprints are what make this discovery so amazing and potentially revealing. These second footprints are those of another huge dinosaur, a gigantic sauropod called Paluxysaurus.
Got a fiberglass cast of a sauropod left rear foot. You've got the ground level here, and you can see the claws, the heel. It just gives you a good idea of how much this thing should have weighed.
And the tracks reveal that the 36-ton plant eater was also in a hurry, as if it was being chased.
What we have here is a really nicely preserved set of sauropod tracks, and it goes on for about 30 feet. The trail starts here with the right rear, and it goes this direction. There's a left, right, left, right, left, and finally the last one right. But it continues underneath this limestone ledge.
Did these two beasts just happen to cross each other's tracks? Or do the prints tell a more dramatic story? Professor James Farlow has no doubt they're evidence of a dinosaur battle.
Here on the left of the sauropod trackway, we see the three-toed prints of the meat eater, and it's going in a nice left-right sequence, pretty much hugging the left side of the sauropod trail, stepping in the sauropod footprints 2 or 3 times over the length of the trackway before it ends, and then the meat eater cuts across into the trackway of the sauropod.
When these tracks are plotted out, a pattern develops, and this pattern can mean only one thing.
The two animals are about as close together as they can be over most of the length of the trackway without physically colliding with one another.
The Acrocanthosaurus is trying to attack a beast 8 times its size. What kind of monster was capable of such an attack?
This was the top of the food chain, the king on this continent. And that's saying a lot.
Still, it's hard to imagine a beast that could routinely hunt a 24-meter behemoth that weighed 36 tons. But 110 million years ago, life on Earth was anything but routine. It was one of the hottest periods of Earth's history. North America was bursting with plants.
The seasons were probably split into a wet and a dry season. It was probably running in the 90s and 100s almost all the time.
Vegetation exploded over the continent. Tropical weather reached as far north as Alaska. Central Texas was a lush jungle, much like the Amazon, and the giant plants supported colossal sauropods, such as the 36-ton Paluxysaurus.
Acrocanthosaurus seems to have been a specialist in eating sauropods, these big, long-necked, long-tailed plant eaters. They were not bright by dinosaur standards. In fact, you can think of sauropods as basically big, dumb, walking mountains of meat. And Acrocanthosaurus probably needed to fill its belly at least once a week. That's a big belly. That's many hundreds of pounds of meat.
And for a ravenous carnivore like Acro, hunting giants looks like a clever strategy.
Acrocanthosaurus may have been the first big meat-eating dinosaur in North America that was specifically evolved just for attacking really large things.
But the mystery is, how did Acrocanthosaurus kill such mighty prey? Taking down a sauropod was an awesome challenge. And even though Acro's skeleton looks dangerous, it doesn't exactly shout giant killer. When it comes to deadly dinosaurs, Tyrannosaurus Rex is the mega beast by which all others are judged. And the one we know most about. To find clues about Acro, we must start by comparing it to T-Rex. The two awesome predators look superficially similar, but to an expert like Phil Curry, their teeth tell very different stories.
This thing had an incredibly powerful bite. In fact, the most powerful bite known for any animal, living or dead. It was going after animals that were about its own body weight. And because they were relatively small, there was no way that Tyrannosaurus Rex could avoid hitting bone with its teeth. That's why those jaws are so powerful, why they could bite right through flesh and bone.
To understand the difference between T-Rex and Acrocanthosaurus, we have to recognize they have very different strategies against very different prey. T-Rex is up against smaller but a lot more sophisticated herbivores, and those herbivores have a lot of defenses. It's got to get past those defenses, get in there, and if possible, kill with a single wound. Crush through meat, crush through bone, kill with a single strike.
So despite its massive size and huge reputation, T-Rex was killing tough but small prey. By comparison, Acrocanthosaurus had narrow jaws with long, narrow teeth, more like knife blades than spikes. Phil Curry believes these were specialized tools for butchering huge fleshy victims.
These giant plant eaters had giant bones. And if these teeth hit those giant bones, they would just break. What Acrocanthosaurus did instead is avoided those bones by biting much more shallowly. So it would take these jaws and teeth and use them like scissors, essentially, and slice flesh off on the side of the sauropods.
But it doesn't change the fact that compared to its prey, Acro was tiny.
Acrocanthosaurus's prey may have been big and dumb, but it certainly wasn't helpless, because by its sheer size, Paluxysaurus and other sauropods, they were dangerous just from muscle mass. If they chose to roll over on an Acrocanthosaurus, that acro would be an acro pancake.
It's a monstrous mystery. How did Acro kill giants like Paluxysaurus? To answer this question, we must recreate a crime scene. Examine the murder weapon and meet the killer face to face.